For 10,000 years, the galaxy had repeated only one rule, whispered from one generation to the next, carved into golden tablets by ancient hands, engraved into the laws of every empire. Do not disturb the Terran vault, do not awaken humanity. No one remembered why the rule existed. No one knew who gave it. No one had ever seen a human. But fear lived in the way everyone spoke the words. Even the strongest emperors spoke the rule like a child repeating a bedtime warning. The Terran vault itself drifted at the farthest edge of the galaxy, beyond trade routes, beyond star maps, beyond courage. It was a giant black sphere, smooth like glass, cold like death, silent like a place forgotten by time. Ships avoided it. Science teams refused to scan it. Even pirates turned away. They said its walls were made from something not metal, not energy, not matter, something older than physics, older than language. Some believed humans were extinct. Some believed humans were sleeping gods. Some believed humans were monsters. But no one, not even the wise elders, ever dared wake them. Until today, the new emperor of the Vathran Dominion, young, proud, and desperate to prove himself, stood inside his flagship, staring at the image of the black sphere filling his screen. His name was Emperor Kaldor Vyn, and he believed greatness was taken, not earned. He had heard the rule. He ignored it. He wanted to be remembered. And the fastest way to be remembered was to control something the entire galaxy feared. Around him, thousands of his soldiers stood uneasy, their eyes flicking between the sphere and the Emperor. The air inside the command deck felt heavy, as if the vault sucked courage out of the room. "Open the path," Kaldor commanded. No one moved. He narrowed his eyes. That was not a suggestion. His general swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes, Majesty." The fleet moved slowly, engines dimmed, as if space itself resisted letting them near the vault. The sphere never reacted. No alarms, no shields, no defenses. It simply existed, silent, watching, waiting. Kaldor stepped closer to the glass, staring into the smooth black surface. "So this is humanity?" he muttered. "This is the species the elders fear more than all our armies?" His voice dripped with arrogance. "Then I will control them, or their power, and the galaxy will bow." As the ships approached, the smooth black surface of the sphere rippled like water touched by wind. Not a shield, not an activation, just a breath. A single inhale after 10,000 years. Every scanner in the fleet crackled. Officers shouted about unknown signals, impossible waves, energies older than recorded history. But Kaldor didn't flinch. "Keep going." The moment the flagship touched the vault, the entire fleet vanished inside it. No transition, no portal, no beam, just darkness turning into light in one blink. They now floated inside a hollow world. A world without gravity, without sound, without life. A world bigger on the inside than the outside. The soldiers gasped as the sphere revealed itself. Endless black corridors shaped like veins of a sleeping giant, glowing blue rivers of energy running through the walls, and in the center, a single impossible structure. A massive hall, shaped like a cathedral built by gods. Pillars rose into infinity. The floor was covered with runes that shifted like living ink. And at the very center of the hall stood a raised platform, a glowing podium, and one slab of stone covered in ancient Terran script. Kaldor walked forward, almost hypnotized. The runes glowed brighter with each step he took. His soldiers trembled. Some begged him to stop. "Majesty, the elders forbade this." "Majesty, something is wrong." "Majesty, please." Kaldor ignored all of them. He climbed the stairs slowly, each step echoing like a heartbeat inside the hall. When he reached the stone slab, he read the message carved into it. "If you touch this, we wake up." That was all. No warning, no explanation, no threat. Just a simple sentence that felt heavier than a dying star. His soldiers froze. Their breath shook. One whispered, "Emperor, please do not." Kaldor laughed. A children's scare story, nothing more. And with one proud, foolish gesture, he pushed the glowing symbol. The sound that followed wasn't sound. The galaxy itself felt it. Space shivered. Gravity hummed. The background radiation of the universe changed rhythm like a sleeping titan turning in its bed. On distant planets, old stars flickered. Animals panicked. Seas rippled. Long-dead satellites, silent for thousands of years, suddenly woke and broadcasted warning codes in human languages no one else could understand. Generators across empires exploded. The oldest elders, meditating in temples built before most species existed, opened their eyes in terror. One elder dropped his staff. "No, no, no," he whispered. "Who awakened them?" Across the galaxy, temples shook as ancient statues cracked. A forgotten frequency screamed again, a human frequency, the first to exist when humanity ruled the stars. Inside the vault, the podium cracked like an egg. The hall trembled. The runes on the floor burned with white light, racing through the walls, up the pillars, across the ceiling, filling the entire sphere with a rising storm of awakening energy. Kaldor stumbled back, stunned for the first time. What is happening? The air thickened. The temperature rose. The blue energy rivers in the walls turned white-hot. Something behind the podium shifted. The stone split. A door formed, a door not built by tools but by intention. A door that had been waiting to open for 10,000 years. The soldiers dropped their weapons and ran. Some screamed. Some collapsed. Some prayed. But running did nothing. The door opened. A single figure stepped out. A human. A woman. Tall, calm, silent, wearing armor that glowed with its own heartbeat. Her eyes opened slowly, as if she had only been sleeping for one night, not 10,000 years. She looked at Kaldor, not with anger, not with fear, not with confusion, but with disappointment, deep, quiet disappointment, as if she had woken early on a day she hoped would never come. The Emperor fell backward, choking on his breath. The woman spoke softly, her voice smooth but echoing with power that made the walls tremble. "Who touched the alarm?" Her voice alone caused soldiers to drop unconscious. Kaldor's legs refused to move. His heart pounded like a trapped animal. She stepped fully into the hall, stretching her arms, the metal plates of her armor unlocking with gentle clicks. She looked around the ruined podium and broken runes. "It has been a long time," she whispered. "Too long." The vault responded to her voice. The entire sphere shuddered, awakening layer after layer, corridor after corridor. She closed her eyes, feeling everything. Memories, battles, promises, a galaxy begging humanity to sleep, not for power, but for protection. And now she was awake again. Slowly, she opened her eyes, glowing like two newborn stars. The Emperor tried to speak. "Why you're human?" The woman tilted her head. "I am Admiral Rhea Soulborn, Terran High Command." Her gaze sharpened. "And you have made a very, very dangerous mistake." Outside the vault, across the galaxy, every elder knelt, shaking. Some cried. Some whispered apologies to the air. Some prepared for extinction, because they all knew one truth: humanity had awakened. And when humanity wakes, the galaxy trembles. The black sphere shook one final time. Light burst from every crack. The vault opened, and Admiral Rhea Soulborn stepped out into the galaxy once more. Humanity was awake. The Terran vault's doors were still vibrating from the awakening when Admiral Rhea Soulborn stepped out into open space, her armor glowing like a newborn star. She didn't rush. She didn't panic. She simply existed, and the universe bent around her presence like metal under heat. The Emperor's fleet floated nearby, frozen not by weapons but by fear. Engines refused to start. Shields refused to activate. Even computers refused to respond, as if every system remembered a forgotten instinct: obey humanity or fall silent. Inside the flagship, Emperor Kaldor stared at Rhea through the glass, shaking uncontrollably. His pride, his arrogance, his certainty. All of it burned away the moment he saw her eyes. They held no cruelty, no rage, no mercy either. Just a calm, steady power that made planets feel small. Rhea looked at the fleet for a long moment, almost confused at the fear around her. She raised one hand, and the soundless order swept across every ship. Gravity returned. Air pressure steadied. Systems flickered. But the soldiers inside felt something else. A gentle energy, like a warm wave passing through metal and bone. It wasn't an attack. It was a scan. Rhea now knew every name, every heartbeat, every intention. Her voice flowed across space, soft enough to be a whisper, powerful enough to reach every mind at once. You entered a place you were warned not to touch. Her voice alone made soldiers kneel. Some cried without knowing why. Some felt guilt heavier than armor. Emperor Kaldor forced himself to stand, gripping the control panel to keep from collapsing. I command you to identify yourself, he tried to shout, but his voice cracked like a breaking wire. Rhea didn't look at him. She simply continued floating, her boots not touching the flagship hull, her eyes glowing with quiet authority. Why did you wake us? She asked. The question wasn't angry. It was tired, heavy, almost sad. A question that carried 10,000 years of lost sleep. Kaldor swallowed hard. I sought your power, your technology. The galaxy worships you. I wanted to control that power for my empire. Rhea finally looked directly at him. He stopped breathing for a second. Not because she threatened him, but because her presence was too much, like standing in front of a rising sun. You mistake worship for fear, she said quietly. Her voice echoed inside his bones. Behind her, the vault pulsed again, and more Terran lights flickered deep within the sphere. Shadows moved inside, other humans stirring, other giants waking from ancient rest. Kaldor's officers watched in horror as figures began forming from the white energy of the vault. Human silhouettes, human armor, human war scripts glowing on their chests. Rhea sensed their awakening but did not turn. She kept her eyes on Kaldor. You opened a door that was sealed for a reason. Kaldor clenched his fists. Shame twisted inside him, but pride still tried to breathe. My empire has ruled for 12 generations. We are strong. We feared nothing. We feared you only because your power is myth. Now that I see you. He forced a laugh, but it came out broken. You are only one woman. Silence fell. The soldiers around him froze. Even the ship's lights seemed to dim in fear. Rhea's expression didn't change, but space around her tightened, like the universe itself inhaled sharply. Only one woman. The words echoed through her memory. She remembered the past, the war, the betrayal, the reason the elders begged humanity to sleep. Her eyes softened, not with pity, but with sorrow. We slept to save you, she said, not to protect ourselves, but to protect the galaxy from what happens when humanity wakes. Kaldor stumbled back. His throat tightened. He felt something in her voice, something he couldn't understand but instinctively feared. A shadow moved beside Rhea. A second human stepped fully out of the vault. A tall man with bronze skin, hair tied back, armor pulsing like electricity. His voice was deep, warm, but terrifying in calmness. Admiral, he said softly. We expected another 1,000 years of rest. Rhea nodded slowly. The galaxy was not ready for us. It never is, the man replied. But someone pressed the alarm. More humans emerged behind them, each one unique yet carrying the same quiet authority, the same weight of history. Kaldor's ship began broadcasting distress signals automatically, the system unable to process the fear inside the crew. Rhea raised one hand, and all signals stopped instantly. She floated closer to the window, so close that Kaldor felt her presence pressing into his thoughts, not violently, but like an ancient truth forcing itself to be seen. Why did you seek power you do not understand? She asked. Kaldor broke. Completely. He sank to his knees, trembling. I wanted to be legendary, he whispered. I wanted my name to last forever. Rhea's expression softened again, but this time with cold resignation. You succeeded, she said. Your name will last. He looked up hopefully. Her voice finished the sentence quietly. As the one who woke us. The Emperor's heart shattered. Behind him, his officers cried out. not because they were attacked, but because a wave of ancient human energy passed through the ship, revealing to them the truth of what humanity once was. They saw ruins of empires. They saw stars being moved like stones. They saw weapons that bent reality. They saw Terran fleets sweeping across galaxies like storms. They saw why the elders made the rule: do not awaken humanity. Not because humanity was evil, but because humanity was unstoppable. Rhea closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of waking up too early. "Listen," she whispered, her voice reaching the ears of every soldier across the fleet. "We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. But if you threaten the balance of the galaxy—" Her eyes opened again, burning white. "We do not sleep again." The air inside the Emperor's flagship turned sharp and cold. Every soldier felt it. Every ship felt it. Every star nearby dimmed slightly. Kaldor tried to speak, but no voice came. His mind whispered only one truth. He woke a force that should never be disturbed. Rhea finally turned away from him, looking toward the awakening humans behind her. Her expression hardened slightly. A commander preparing to lead again after 10 millennia. "Wake the fleets," she said. The man beside her nodded. "All of them," Rhea whispered. "All of them." The vault hummed in response. Through the cracks, a sound rose. Deep, ancient, beautiful, terrifying. The sound of Terran warships breathing again. And the galaxy shivered. The awakening spread through the Terran vault like a storm of light, pouring through every hidden corridor, every sleeping chamber, every ancient system that had not seen movement in 10,000 years. Admiral Rhea Soulborn hovered outside the Emperor's flagship, her gaze fixed not on the fleet, not on the frightened soldiers, but on the rising glow behind her. The glow of humanity returning to the galaxy. Inside the ship, Emperor Kaldor could not stand. His legs shook. His lungs felt too small. His empire, his pride, his arrogance, all of it felt meaningless now. He watched as more human silhouettes stepped from the vault, their armor shifting like living metal, their eyes opening with memories older than entire civilizations. And then, the elders arrived, not with ships, not with weapons, but with light. Pure white beams dropped from the sky and materialized into tall, thin figures wrapped in silver robes that seemed to float even without wind. Their faces carried age beyond age, wisdom carved into every line, but their eyes held only one expression: fear. True fear. The kind that makes a soul remember its limits. The kind that makes galaxies bow. They knelt. Every elder knelt the moment their feet touched the hull of the flagship. Even the Emperor gasped at the sight. Elders never bowed to anyone. Not kings, not gods, not armies, but they bowed to her. Admiral Rhea turned slowly, her calm gaze falling on them with a mix of recognition and sorrow. "You should have stopped them," she said quietly. Her voice was steady, but beneath it was a sadness so deep that even the stars seemed to dim in respect. The oldest elder lifted his trembling head. "Admiral, we tried. We tried for centuries, but the new emperor would not listen. He thought himself invincible." He swallowed, grief shaking his voice. "We never wanted this day to come." Rhea floated closer, her expression unreadable. "You made an oath," she said. "The galaxy made an oath." The elder nodded slowly, tears forming in his ancient eyes. "We did. We promised to protect the galaxy from us. By keeping you asleep." The soldiers inside the Emperor's ship stared in shock. What did that mean? Protect the galaxy from them? Humanity wasn't locked away. Humanity locked itself away. Rhea closed her eyes, memories cutting through her mind like blades made from sorrow. She remembered the war, the last war humanity fought before sealing themselves. She remembered the screams of dying worlds. She remembered human weapons bending space, turning suns into glass marbles, collapsing armies with a whisper. She remembered the elders kneeling before human commanders, begging, "Please, please sleep. If you stay awake, the galaxy will not survive." And humanity listened. They did not rage. They did not refuse. They simply accepted the burden. To protect everyone, they willingly chained themselves. Rhea opened her eyes again. The elders flinched under her gaze. "We trusted you to keep watch," she whispered, "to prevent this exact moment." The elder bowed his head to the floor. "We failed, Admiral." Kaldor's heartbeat pounded through the ship. His pride collapsed into dust. He felt sick, ashamed, and terrified all at once. He had not awakened a treasure. He had awakened a prison. Rhea slowly lowered herself until her boots touched the hull for the first time since waking. The vault behind her glowed brighter and brighter, its inner systems humming like a rising storm. Humans continued emerging. Dozens now, maybe hundreds, each one carrying the same ageless power, the same history carved into their souls. One of them, a younger man with silver armor and a scar across his cheek, stepped beside Rhea. "Admiral," he murmured, "the memories are returning. All of them. All at once." His voice cracked slightly. "It hurts." Rhea placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her first truly human gesture since awakening. "I know," she whispered. "We have slept too long. The mind needs time." The elders looked up weakly. "Admiral, what will you do to us?" Rhea didn't answer immediately. She looked at Kaldor, a trembling creature who thought he could command forces older than his entire bloodline. She looked at his soldiers, eyes wide with regret and terror. Then she looked at her own people, awakening and remembering pain, war, and betrayal. She felt everything at once. Sadness for the galaxy, grief for humanity, disappointment deep as an ocean. "We are not here to punish," she finally said. The elders exhaled with relief, but she continued softly, but with a power that crushed all comfort. "We are here because we were awakened, and once awakened, we do not return to sleep easily." The elders' relief turned to despair again. Kaldor felt cold sweat running down his neck. The young silver-armored human stepped forward, voice sharp. "They broke the oath, Admiral." The elders swore an unbreakable promise. "The galaxy swore with them." Rhea nodded. "And the galaxy has forgotten why we sleep." She raised her hand. A hologram formed, not made by technology, but by memory itself. A galaxy burning, fleets collapsing, space itself bending like cloth. A single human flagship glowing brighter than stars. Kaldor felt like vomiting. His officers screamed as the visions poured into their minds. Visions of a time when humanity didn't just fight wars, humanity ended eras. The hologram dimmed. Rhea lowered her hand. Silence spread across space like thick fog. "This is why we slept," she said. "Because when we rise to defend the weak, the universe breaks." The elders trembled violently. "Admiral, please. We beg you, do not bring those days back." Rhea looked at them with eyes full of pain. A pain so deep it exceeded anger. "Then you should have protected the vault." The words shattered every hope. Emperor Kaldor finally found the courage to speak, voice trembling like a frightened child. "Please, Admiral, I made a mistake. I didn't know." Rhea's voice softened, but not in mercy, in disappointment. "You knew the rule," she said, "but you wanted glory, and you woke us for your ego." Kaldor broke completely. He dropped his crown onto the metal floor. It rang like a death bell. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Rhea stared at him for a long, heavy moment. Then she turned to the elders. "Gather the galaxy's leaders," she said. "All of them. We must speak." The elders bowed. Rhea stepped back, her figure glowing brighter as the awakened humans formed a silent formation behind her. Their footsteps, though soundless, felt like thunder rolling through the stars. Inside the flagship, every soldier felt a single truth settle deep into their soul. Humanity wasn't angry. Humanity was awakened, and that was far worse. The vault behind Rhea shook again. Hundreds of white lights blinked awake. Human warships, ancient, advanced, terrifying, began forming from pure energy, rebuilding themselves after 10,000 years of sleep. The shadows of giants rose, and far away, across the galaxy, something dark and unknown stirred in response. The galaxy had begun to shiver long before anyone understood why. Stars dimmed for half a second. Asteroid belts vibrated. Deep space sensors picked up ghost signals that shouldn't exist. And on every major world, citizens felt something strange. A pressure in the air, like the universe itself was holding its breath. All because humanity had opened its eyes after 10,000 years. Admiral Rhea Soulborn floated above the Emperor's flagship, her armor glowing with a calm, ancient light that made every ship nearby feel like a child standing before a storm. Behind her, hundreds of Terran warriors stood in formation, more emerging every second. Their presence alone twisted the fabric of space. Each one radiated authority that felt too large for a single body. Emperor Kaldor watched in silent terror. His eyes were red from crying he tried to hide. He had awakened them for power, for glory, for ego. Now he just wanted to survive long enough to say sorry again. But the moment that truly broke him came now when Terran ships woke. It began with a single low rumble, so deep it sounded like the heartbeat of a dying sun. Then the walls of the vault trembled. Energy veins across the sphere lit up like rivers of white fire. Giant shadows shifted inside the light. Rhea didn't look toward the vault. She didn't need to. She knew that sound. All Terrans did. It was the sound of war waking up. A massive shape emerged from the vault, forming itself from raw light and ancient data. Metal growing like muscle, engines stretching like wings, weapons appearing like the bones of a titan. A Terran warship, but not like ordinary warships. This one was alive with energy, older than empires, powerful enough that the elders fell to their knees again. The hull bore its ancient inscription. TSS Horizon Breaker. Fleet of Humanity. Emperor Kaldor felt something inside him fracture. His voice shook. What is that? Rhea finally turned her head toward the giant vessel. That is one of our oldest ships, she said softly. We built them when we were still foolish enough to believe we could protect everyone. The elders bowed their heads, unable to speak. The Horizon Breaker floated in silence, its presence warping gravity in every direction. Smaller Terran ships began forming beside it. Scout ships, carrier ships, spear-shaped interceptors, rising from the vault like forgotten gods returning home. The Emperor's fleet shook violently. Soldiers panicked. Some tried to flee through escape pods, but the pods refused to launch, frozen by Terran technology without any command spoken. Rhea slowly lifted her hand. Every Terran ship stopped growing. Every engine dimmed. The galaxy exhaled in fear. Stand down, she commanded. Her voice was calm, but the warships responded instantly, as if they were alive and loyal only to her. Then she turned back to the elders. This is what we tried to hide from the galaxy. This is why the vault was sealed. We are not meant to rule. We are not meant to conquer. We are meant to be alone. The elders trembled. The youngest elder whispered, voice breaking, Admiral, please, show mercy on the galaxy. We do not want the past to return. Rhea looked at him with disappointment deeper than anger. Mercy was the reason we slept, she replied. Do you see how the galaxy repaid that mercy? The elder lowered his eyes in shame. Then something completely unexpected happened. A Terran child stepped out of the vault. A child. A small girl, barefoot, wearing a simple white tunic, eyes glowing with the same ancient light as Rhea. Emperor Kaldor's breath caught. Soldiers went silent. Even the elders froze. The girl stepped forward quietly, as if waking from a peaceful dream. Rhea walked to her, kneeling down to meet the child's eyes. Lyra, she said softly. You were not supposed to wake yet. The girl looked up innocently. The vault woke me, she whispered. It said the galaxy is in danger again. Rhea closed her eyes slowly, pain filling her chest. Humans did not age while sleeping. This little girl was born during the last war, and fell asleep with the rest of the Terrans, her mind holding memories no child should ever carry. She touched Rhea's hand gently. Are we going to fight again? Rhea's lips trembled for the first time. I hope not. The elders felt their hearts twist with pain. Even the Emperor felt a sudden sting in his chest. A child who carried the weight of humanity's last battle. Lyra looked at the fleets around her, fearlessly observing thousands of alien ships with innocent curiosity. They woke us because they don't know why we slept, she whispered. We told them not to wake us. She turned her glowing eyes toward Emperor Kaldor. He looked away, unable to meet the gaze of a child who remembered more war than any adult alive. Rhea placed her hand gently on Lyra's hair. Go inside, she whispered. Wake the healers. Some of our soldiers will need guidance. The child nodded and walked back toward the vault, her small feet leaving trails of soft energy on the metal hull. The elders finally spoke again. Admiral, what happens now? Rhea stood straight, her expression turning cold and commander-like again. What happens now, she said, depends on the Emperor who woke us. Kaldor shivered violently. Rhea stepped toward him, the metal beneath her feet not making a single sound. You broke the galaxy's most important rule, she said. You touched a warning meant to protect millions. Kaldor clenched his teeth, tears falling silently. I know, I did wrong. I was blinded by ambition. I wanted power, fame, respect. Instead, Rhea said softly, you brought fear. Fear that will spread across every star system. Fear that will wake more than just Terrans. He froze. What do you mean, more? Rhea didn't look at him. She stared into the dark space far beyond the fleet. Her eyes narrowed, as if she sensed something none of them could. When we rise, she whispered, old things rise with us. The elders gasped. No, Admiral, not them. Rhea closed her eyes again. The universe remembers balance. If one great power awakens, another must follow. She opened her eyes. They glowed brighter than before. And something ancient is moving. A chill spread through the entire fleet. Even Terran ships dimmed their lights in response. Emperor Kaldor felt darkness crawl into his bones. What is coming? Rhea looked at him with a calm expression that felt like destiny itself speaking. An enemy older than us. Older than the elders. Older than the galaxy's history. Her voice lowered. And you woke us right before they arrive. The moment she said it, space rippled. Far away, beyond the edge of the star system, something massive shifted in the void. Rhea stared into the growing darkness. A silent warning escaped her lips, soft, emotional, terrifying. It has begun. The darkness at the edge of the star system pulsed again. But this time it wasn't just a distant ripple. Felt like something breathing. Something old. Something waking up after a sleep even deeper than humanity's. Admiral Rhea Soulborn stood perfectly still, her eyes fixed on that distant void. The elders trembled, recognizing the shift in gravity, the coldness in the air, the unnatural silence spreading across light years. Emperor Kaldor clutched the metal railing so tightly that his fingers bled. He could feel the wrongness pressing into his skull. He didn't know what it was, but he knew one thing. Waking humanity wasn't just a mistake. It was the trigger. Rhea whispered softly, as if talking to herself. 10,000 years, and they still remember us. The elders bowed their heads in terror. The youngest elder dared to speak, voice cracking. Admiral, is it truly them? Are they returning? Rhea did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the horizon of space where stars were being swallowed by a shadow too large to be natural. The shadow was not moving toward them. Space itself was retreating from it. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was steady but painfully heavy. Yes, they are coming. The elders cried out quietly. Soldiers in Kaldor's fleet fell to their knees, their minds overwhelmed. Even the Terran warriors behind Rhea stiffened, their expressions tightening in recognition and dread. Kaldor forced himself to speak, his voice nearly inaudible. Admiral, who are they? Rhea turned her head slowly toward him. Her expression held no anger, no revenge, only sorrow. Deep, crushing sorrow. Before the galaxy had empires, she said. Before the elders created law, before humanity spread across the stars, there were beings who ruled the dark. She looked at the elders. You fought them once, barely survived. The elders closed their eyes in shame. We did not win, the oldest elder admitted. They simply lost interest. Kaldor felt his stomach twist. What are they? Rhea looked back at the creeping darkness. Her whisper echoed across the fleet like a death bell. The Voidborn. Every Terran warrior lowered their head in respect and fear. The child Lyra, watching from the vault entrance, hugged her arms around herself. Rhea, she whispered. They're hungry again. Rhea walked toward her, kneeling down so she could place her hands gently on the child's shoulders. Do not be frightened, she whispered. We are awake now. Lyra's glowing eyes filled with tears. But last time, even when everyone fought together, She couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Every Terran remembered. Every elder remembered. The Voidborn didn't fight for territory. They didn't fight for resources. They fought because they fed on fear, consumed light, and destroyed hope itself. Rhea stood again, breathing slowly, controlling the storm inside her. She looked back at the elders. You made us sleep to protect the galaxy. But you forgot the truth. The elders raised their heads. What truth? She spoke with no hesitation. We didn't sleep because of our power. We slept because we were the only ones the Voidborn feared. Gasps spread through the alien ships. Even Kaldor stopped shaking for a moment, stunned by the magnitude of the revelation. Humanity, Rhea continued softly, was not a threat to the galaxy. We were a shield. Her eyes darkened. And now that shield has cracks. Suddenly, the darkness at the edge of the system pulsed, hard. The pulse sent a wave across space, shaking every ship violently. Lights flickered. Hulls groaned. Some alien vessels cracked under the pressure. Terran ships absorbed it effortlessly. Rhea lifted her hand. Instantly, every Terran ship stabilized. Her warriors straightened. Their armor brightened. Lyra stepped closer to Rhea, gripping the edge of her tunic. They know we're awake, the child whispered. They can smell us. Rhea touched her head. Let them. The elders fell into deep bows, their voices trembling. Admiral, what do we do? Rhea looked at the void one last time, then turned away and faced everyone. You prepare the galaxy, she said quietly, because when they arrive, no empire will survive alone. Her words carried pain, responsibility, and a command that felt like destiny itself. Emperor Kaldor whispered, Admiral, I caused this. Rhea approached him slowly. Kaldor felt more naked in front of her than he ever had in his life. You caused nothing you could understand, she said. You only awakened what was necessary. If you had not opened the vault, the galaxy would have been taken in silence. Kaldor looked up, eyes wet. Then was this fate? Rhea shook her head once. No, this was choice, your choice. He lowered his head again, broken. Rhea stepped away from him and faced her rising fleet. Terran warriors gathered in a perfect formation. Terran ships aligned with silent precision. The air changed, carried purpose, carried old fury, carried ancient wounds. The elders formed a circle around Rhea, chanting old protective scripts that had not been used since the First War. Lyra stood behind her, small but glowing like a star trying to burn brighter. Admiral, a Terran soldier said, stepping forward. Should we deploy the old weapons? Rhea looked at him, her expression becoming cold and commander-sharp. Not yet. The soldier nodded, but his voice shook slightly. Then, what is our first step? Rhea's eyes drifted to the distant darkness. Her reply was soft enough to be gentle, strong enough to shake a galaxy. We remind the universe, she said, why humanity was feared. The vault behind her glowed brighter. Terran ships roared awake. The void trembled again. And far beyond the edge of the star system, a pair of glowing, monstrous eyes opened in the darkness. The galaxy had always believed fear was strongest in the weak. But the void taught another truth. Fear is strongest when it returns after a long sleep. And now it was returning. The monstrous eyes in the distant darkness blinked once. Just once. But that single blink made every star in the nearby sector dim for 2 full seconds. Entire planets felt their skies flicker. Civilizations panicked. Elders collapsed to their knees as memories long buried stabbed through their skulls. The Voidborn were not approaching. The Voidborn were observing. And waiting. Admiral Rhea Soulborn felt every pulse of that ancient hunger. Her jaw clenched. Her chest tightened. She knew that feeling too well. "They're testing us," she murmured. "Measuring our fear before they move." Behind her, Terran warriors tightened formation. Their armor glowed brighter, reacting to the rising threat. Young soldiers trembled. Veterans stared coldly into the darkness. The child Lyra stood between Rhea's legs, gripping her armor, her small body shaking. "Rhea, they're whispering again," she said softly. Rhea immediately knelt, holding Lyra's face gently. "Do not listen," she whispered. "Voidborn feed on fear carried through memory. You are stronger than their voices." Lyra took a shaky breath, trying to act brave. "I know, but they sound like screams." Rhea hugged her. One long, powerful embrace filled with more emotion than the galaxy had seen in millennia. Terran warriors bowed their heads at the sight. Elders cried softly. Even Emperor Kaldor felt something break inside him. The sight of the strongest beings in the galaxy shielding a child from cosmic fear made him feel smaller than ever. Rhea stood again, picking Lyra up and passing her gently to a Terran medic. "Take her inside," she said. "She wakes too early for this." The medic nodded, carrying Lyra away as she buried her face in his neck. Rhea turned toward the elders. "We cannot hide the truth from the galaxy anymore," she said. "You must summon every leader from every empire. We need unity." The elders hesitated. The oldest one whispered, "Admiral, the galaxy fears you as much as the Voidborn." Rhea nodded slowly. "I know. They still remember the last war. I know. Many believe humanity waking is just as dangerous as the Voidborn returning." Rhea's eyes softened with pain. "I know." She stepped forward, placing a hand over her heart. "But we did not wake for conquest. We woke because the galaxy cried out in fear, and we heard it." Her voice dropped into deep sorrow. "We always hear it." Emperor Kaldor spoke shakily from behind. "But the galaxy won't trust you." Rhea turned, looking at him with heavy disappointment, the kind that burns more than anger. "Trust is earned," she said. "Fear is inherited." She faced her fleet again. "We will earn it, or we will stand alone." A Terran officer stepped forward. "Admiral, the Voidborn pulse is strengthening. Their presence is expanding." Rhea nodded. "Good." The officer blinked, startled. "Good." Rhea's gaze sharpened like a blade. "If they reveal their shape slowly, it means they're unsure." The elders gasped. "You mean?" The oldest elder bowed. "They still fear humans." Rhea turned her attention back to the void. The darkness pulsed again, growing larger as if stretching. It made no sound, yet everyone felt it in their bones. Some alien ships cracked under the pressure. Kaldor's soldiers screamed as their minds filled with static and shadow. Rhea raised her hand, and suddenly, silence. Mind static vanished. Pressure lifted. Fear softened. Her calm alone stabilized an entire sector. "They can sense me," she said quietly, "but they cannot read me." Terran warriors straightened proudly. A lieutenant spoke. "Admiral, do we activate the old mind barriers?" Rhea shook her head. "Not yet." "Then what is our move?" Rhea turned toward the elders and spoke a sentence none of them expected. "We speak to the galaxy." Panic swept through the alien crews. "Admiral, you cannot." "Admiral, they will hate." "Admiral, they will accuse." She silenced them with one calm gesture. Then she stepped onto the hull of the Emperor's flagship. Her armor glowed brighter until she became a beacon that every scanner in the system locked onto. Every civilization felt her presence enter their communication channels. Every empire heard her voice at once. Every star system, every outpost, every mining colony, every home. She didn't shout. A whisper was enough. "This is Admiral Rhea Soulborn of humanity." Civilizations froze. Elders trembled. Empires panicked. "We have awakened." Planets screamed. Some worshipped. Some declared emergencies. Some prepared for war. Rhea continued. You feared us. You were right. The galaxy held its breath. But you feared the wrong thing. She lifted her eyes toward the darkness creeping across the stars. The old enemy of life is returning. Shockwaves of terror spread across communications. Rhea raised her hand, calming the panic. We do not come to conquer. We come because you will not survive without us. More Terran ships emerged behind her like rising mountains of steel and light. You once begged us to sleep so the galaxy may grow without fear. Her voice darkened. You fall again into fear because you do not remember the last darkness. The void pulsed, hard enough to shatter sensors across half the fleet. Rhea didn't flinch. She stared into the expanding shadow. Void-born, she whispered. I know you can hear me. The elders collapsed. Terran warriors tightened their grip on their weapons. The temperature dropped. The void trembled. Rhea continued. You fed on fear. You hunted stars. You swallowed hope. Her voice became sharper, older, deeper. And we stopped you once. The void pulsed violently. Millions of stars flickered. Rhea stepped forward, armor blazing white. We are awake now. Silence. Then the void growled. A soundless growl that shook gravity itself. A vibration that made every ship bend like soft metal. Kaldor fainted. Soldiers screamed. Elders collapsed in pain. Terrans stood strong, though their bodies shook. Rhea whispered her next words like a promise carved in the bones of time itself. If you come for the galaxy, you face us first. The void froze. Then slowly, terribly, like a nightmare taking shape, a giant silhouette began forming inside the darkness. Terran warriors drew their weapons. Elders prayed. Rhea breathed in slowly. So, you remember me? The void creature opened its first mouth and whispered a single word into the universe. A word spoken without sound, without language, without mercy. Hungry. The word hungry did not echo through space. It invaded it. It seeped into the bones of every living creature, slipped into every mind, and cracked through every fragile sense of safety the galaxy once believed it had. Entire star systems went silent for a single heartbeat. That was enough to break the courage of millions. Emperor Kaldor collapsed unconscious, trembling even while he lay on the metal floor. His soldiers screamed, pressing their hands over their ears even though no sound existed. Elders clutched their chests, ancient hearts struggling to beat. Terran warriors stayed standing, but even they shook. Only Admiral Rhea Soulborn did not move. She stood as if carved from the core of a collapsing star. Still, unyielding, ancient. Her armor glowed brighter in response to the void's whisper, as if waking deeper layers of power she had hoped would never awaken again. Behind her, more Terran warships materialized from the vault, their hulls humming with a quiet fury. Massive cruisers, long-forgotten dreadnoughts, silent carriers with living engines. The air vibrated with Terran energy, so strong that it made space shimmer. But none of it scared the Voidborn. The silhouette kept growing. It had no shape a mortal mind could describe, only pieces of horror. Too many eyes, too many mouths, too much shadow. Its presence felt like a black ocean rising to swallow the stars whole. One elder cried out, tears streaming down his face. Admiral, we cannot survive that thing. Rhea silenced him with one glance. You survived once, she said. Because we fought beside you. The elder whispered, voice barely audible. We survived because you sacrificed worlds to trap them. Rhea's jaw tightened. Pain flashed in her eyes, quick but deep. She remembered. She remembered the screams. She remembered the planets she ordered destroyed just to seal the Voidborn behind ancient gates. She remembered the price paid. But Kaldor's fleet didn't know any of this. All they saw was a monster approaching. A monster even the humans seemed quiet before. One of Kaldor's commanders crawled to the window, gasping. What is that thing? What does it want? Rhea answered without looking back. Light, life, emotion. Anything that proves the universe is alive. She paused, voice darkening. And it especially wants fear. Suddenly, The creature's shadow reached toward the fleet, slow, enormous, stretching across millions of kilometers like a living darkness trying to touch their souls. Terran ships reacted instantly. Shields flared. Engines roared. Dreadnoughts positioned themselves between the void and the Emperor's fleet. Yet Rhea lifted one hand and every Terran ship stopped moving. "Wait!" she commanded. Terran soldiers froze, confused and scared. The Voidborn's shadow came closer, 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 until it hovered just meters from the hull of the flagship. It didn't attack. It didn't roar. It simply watched Rhea, studied her, remembered her. A growl rose again, this time louder, deeper, older. Elders screamed. Terran hulls shook. Lights flickered. Lyra, watching from inside the vault with a medic, covered her ears and cried. "Make it stop," she whispered. The medic held her tight. "Stay strong, little one." Rhea stared into the monster's million shifting eyes. "Do you remember how the last war ended?" The void pulsed. A mouth opened wide, endless, dripping shadows. A whisper emerged that felt like a knife sliding into the galaxy's spine. "Remember human blood?" Terran warriors stiffened. Rhea's eyes narrowed. "That was long before your defeat." The Voidborn responded with a violent pulse of darkness. Kaldor's flagship shook so violently that consoles exploded. Soldiers flew across the room. A hull plate cracked. Elders nearly fainted. But Terran ships held steady, absorbing the shock. The darkness withdrew slightly. Rhea did not break eye contact. Her next words shook the air. "You lost before. You will lose again." The Voidborn twisted in agitation, the space around it fracturing into cracks of dark energy. Rhea knew she was provoking it, and that was the point. A Terran officer whispered behind her. "Admiral, why anger it?" "Because," she replied, "if it focuses on me, the galaxy survives another hour." Her voice carried a heavy truth. She was bait. She continued speaking to the monster with the calmness of someone who had seen it devour entire civilizations. "You woke because you sensed fear again. The galaxy grew weak while we slept. You smelled their panic." A cold smile touched her lips, sharp and fearless. "But now you smell us." The void pulsed aggressively. The stars dimmed again. Rhea stepped forward. Her armor blazed white. "Come for me, if you dare." The Voidborn roared, not with sound, but with gravitational force that shook entire star systems. Terran ships adapted instantly, shields brightening like suns. Alien ships buckled. Emperor Kaldor barely clung to consciousness. Elders prayed. Terran soldiers shouted in defiance. And then, the monster lunged. Its shadow stretched toward Rhea with world-ending speed. Lyra screamed from inside the vault. Terran warships prepared to fire. Elders braced for death. But Rhea lowered her hand, her eyes glowing like two supernovas. Space bent. Time slowed. The shadow froze mid-lunge. Everything went silent. Even the Voidborn stopped moving. Rhea whispered a single word. Soft, gentle, deadly. "Enough!" The void rippled violently, trying to break her command. Rhea raised her voice only slightly. "Enough!" A shockwave exploded from her body, white and blinding. The Voidborn reeled backward, forced to retreat several million kilometers in one instant. The entire star system trembled, but humanity stood tall. Terran ships blazed with ancient energy. Terran warriors lifted their weapons with renewed courage. The elders wept at the sight. Emperor Kaldor stared in disbelief. And Rhea, her breathing grew heavy. The energy she called on was powerful, too powerful. A faint crack appeared on her armor. A Terran officer panicked. "Admiral, you're pushing too hard." "I'm fine," Rhea said, though her voice wavered for the first time. The Voidborn steadied itself in the darkness, furious now, its countless eyes burning with malice. Rhea lifted her chin, glaring at the monster with unstoppable determination. "If you want the galaxy," she whispered, "you go through me first." The Voidborn roared again. Terran ships responded by forming a wall of living steel around their admiral. Rhea took one breath, and whispered a command that made every Terran heart pound. "Prepare," she said. "War is waking again." The Voidborn's roar faded into the silent cold of deep space, leaving behind an emptiness so sharp it felt like a wound cut across the universe. Every ship trembled. Every star dimmed. Every living being felt something ancient pressing on their soul. Admiral Rhea Soulborn stood at the center of it all. Her armor cracked, her heartbeat steady but heavy, her eyes glowing like the twin cores of dying suns. The monster had been pushed back, but not defeated. Not even close. Terran warships hovered around her, forming a shield wall so precise that each ship moved like part of a single living beast. Their engines hummed with ancient power, but even they seemed to sense the gravity of what was coming. Inside the Emperor's flagship, soldiers held each other, shaking. Emperor Kaldor, barely conscious, stared at Rhea with awe and terror mixing like poison in his veins. She fought it, he whispered. She fought something no empire could even look at. The elders stood weakly, leaning on each other, their robes torn from the shockwaves. "She did not fight it," the oldest elder said, voice shaking. "She stopped it for a moment." His eyes, clouded with fear, lifted slowly toward the void. Only a moment. The darkness began to twist again. Slow, deliberate, intelligent. The Voidborn was studying the humans. Learning, adapting. Rhea felt the shift in the air. Not fear, not panic. Something deeper. Something she hated feeling. Fatigue. She whispered under her breath. "Not now." But her armor cracked again. Tiny fractures running across the chest plate like spiderwebs spreading on glass. A Terran officer ran to her, voice breaking. "Admiral, you're burning through your life force. The energy you're using, no human body can." "I know," Rhea said softly. "Then stop. Please, stop." Rhea looked at him with calm, steady eyes, the eyes of someone who had led battles that erased suns. "If I stop," she said, "everything ends." The officer fell silent, tears rising in his eyes. Inside the vault, the child Lyra pressed her small hands against the glowing doorway. "Rhea, don't do this alone." Her whisper reached Rhea's mind. Rhea closed her eyes briefly, nostalgia piercing her chest like a knife. "I won't," she whispered back. She lifted her hand. Terran warships moved instantly, obeying her silent command. The massive dreadnought Horizonbreaker pulled forward, its outer hull plates shifting into battle mode, ancient cannons emerging from the metal like awakening giants. Then, something strange happened. The Voidborn stopped moving. The shadow froze completely. Rhea narrowed her eyes. The elders looked at each other in terror. "Admiral?" The oldest elder whispered. "It is not retreating." "No," Rhea said. "It is waiting." "Waiting for what?" Rhea slowly raised her gaze upward. The universe darkened. Stars vanished. A second shadow began to take form. Bigger, older, hungrier. The youngest elder collapsed. "No, no. There aren't supposed to be two." Rhea's heart froze for 1 second. Two Voidborn. Two. She had barely held back one. The second shadow hissed across space, whispering a word no being should ever hear. "Awakened." Rhea stiffened. Her throat tightened. "They are calling others," she said. Darkness thickened. A third shadow twisted behind the first two. Then a fourth. Then, a massive, monstrous shape appeared far behind them, thousands of times larger than the others. Rhea's face hardened instantly. The parent. Terran soldiers froze. Elders screamed. Emperor Kaldor fainted again. The parent Voidborn, leader of their kind, was awakening. It had taken a cosmic breath. And now it was opening its eyes. Rhea whispered, "This is not a scouting attack. This is their return." Her armor cracked further. A piece fell off her shoulder and floated into space. Terran warriors panicked. "Admiral, your armor. Focus on the enemy," she commanded. The parent Voidborn opened its first eye, an eye large enough to eclipse an entire moon. The terror that poured out was indescribable. Even Terran warships rattled. Even Terran soldiers felt dread creeping into their bones like frost. Only Rhea stood unmoving. She lifted her chin defiantly, whispering, "I faced you once." The parent spoke, its voice not a sound, but a force. "Little flame, you burned bright, but you flicker now." A crack cut across Rhea's armor. She winced. Blood touched her lip, but she kept standing. She kept breathing. She kept challenging a nightmare. Terran ships roared in response, engines brightening until they resembled newborn stars. Thousands more Terrans emerged from the vault, armor glowing with battle scripts. The ground shook. The air vibrated. The universe trembled. And then, something none of them expected. The child Lyra broke free from the medic and sprinted toward the vault opening. "Lyra!" the medic screamed. Rhea spun around in panic. "No, stay inside." But the child didn't stop. Light burst from her small body. Pure white, ancient, impossible. She lifted her tiny hands toward the void. Terran symbols formed around her like a halo. Rhea's eyes widened in shock. "Lyra!" "No," the child whispered. "You're hurt. Let me help." The parent Voidborn turned its gaze onto the child. The universe shook. Rhea screamed, "Lyra!" But before she could move, before any Terran could rush forward, before any elder could cast a shield, the parent Voidborn unleashed a pulse of pure darkness directly toward the child. Terran warriors shouted. Elders fell to the ground. Space cracked, and Rhea's heart split in one instant. She activated a warp jump without thinking. Her body blurred. The darkness reached the child. Rhea screamed her name. A blinding white flash filled the system. Everything went silent. The Voidborn recoiled in shock. Terran ships froze their weapons. Elders gasped. Emperor Kaldor awoke just long enough to whisper, "What happened?" When the light faded, the child Lyra was gone. Only Rhea remained, kneeling, shaking, her hands trembling in empty air. Her armor shattered. Her hair burned. A scream tore from her throat, filled with a pain far deeper than war. A pain 10,000 years old. The parent Voidborn whispered softly, "We take what you love." Rhea slowly rose to her feet. Her eyes were no longer glowing white. They burned red, deep, ancient, dangerous. The second her gaze lifted, every Terran soldier felt a surge of pure rage in the air. A rage older than galaxies. A rage that did not obey physics. A rage that could break reality. The parent hissed. The Voidborn shadows trembled. Rhea whispered, voice shaking with cosmic fury, "You took my child." Space cracked. Time distorted. Terran ships roared awake like awakening volcanoes. The vault surged with blinding light. Humanity itself stirred like a rising storm. Rhea lifted her hand, slowly, trembling, with the power of a goddess in grief. "Then hear me," she whispered. "I am done warning you." Her final words shook the universe. "I am awake." The Voidborn roared. The universe screamed. And the greatest war in history began.